Welcome everyone to the second in a series of panels on engaging with GS1 UK members to help them grow globally, and in this case, grow into Europe. And I'm delighted to start and kick off the panel by introducing our sponsor and kind leader of the session, Sarah Atkins, CMO of GS1. Sarah, over to you.
Thank you, Mark, and welcome. I'm hoping this session is going to be as uplifting as the sunshine, and that most of you also have sunshine out there today. So, as Mark said, I'm Sarah Atkins. I'm the Membership Director at GS1 UK. And what that means is my role, and Dan, who's in the office there with Mark today, is to respond to our members' needs with services and information that's going to help them grow as businesses, because as a membership organisation, we have a vested interest in making sure our members have the skills and the insight to help them grow. So we've conducted research amongst the membership, and what's been fascinating is over the last 12 months, export has become front and centre on everybody's minds as we've accessed direct to consumer. And Brexit, and I know we're not allowed to use the Brexit word, but I'll promise that's the only one for today, was seen as a real deterrent for people accessing realistically our closest markets. And what we want to do today is open up the opportunities of Europe for our members, and with the panel that we've got here today, give some real practical advice on how you can actually grow your business within the European community. Thank you, Mark.
Sarah, thank you so much. It's worth mentioning that you kindly all filled in a little bit of data when you registered for the workshops or for the panel. And what's fascinating is 66% of those who registered are looking to trade with Europe in the next 3 months, and a further 25% are looking to trade with Europe in the next 3 to 6 months. So with that data and with that information, I'd like to introduce you to some people who can help that and make that happen. First and foremost, I'd like to introduce Marcus from Trade with Europe. Marcus, tell us a little bit about how, what are the challenges from a logistics perspective and how you can help resolve them.
Yeah, thank you, Mark, and good morning everybody. So I am Marcus from Trade with Europe. As our name suggests, we are a UK company specializing in cross-border trade with the EU. The idea for our business came after the Brexit vote. Being European ourselves, it was kind of clear to us that UK companies would need support to continue selling to Europe, or even to access new markets. So in this completely new and unprecedented scenario, we looked at what UK traders might need. To explain what we found, I'd like to use an analogy. I always compare the current situation with the story of Troy. The EU can be seen as a heavily protected fortress. To get into it, you need a Trojan horse. Once inside, you can actually move freely and easily. It's our mission to sell you this Trojan horse. So how do we do that? Well, firstly, we research the services and opportunities available in the various EU member states. From these, we only pick the finest ingredients prepared by the best continental chefs, serving the perfect European dish. Or less metaphorical, we selected the most beneficial systems in the best prepared EU countries to distill very efficient routes to market for your business. Today, we offer complete one-stop solutions through a network of partners in the Netherlands, in Germany, and in the UK, all of whom are specialists in their fields. They allow us to deliver hands-on services for customs clearances, logistics, warehousing, and compliance tailored to your needs. The aim is always to trade with the EU as frictionless as possible. in many cases very close to what it was before Brexit. To simplify, Trade with Europe is your gateway. We make the complex simple for you, so you can lower or even circumvent trade barriers. We manage your goods flow from the UK or anywhere on the planet to Europe. And in addition, we can also cover all legal and tax requirements. To give you a few examples, we can establish a legal entity for you in the EU and provide a place of business, including the complete administration around it. However, in most cases, we can simply provide various types of EU representations that would actually give you the same benefits. In other words, you can trade from your UK headquarters like you were established in the EU, but without the need of setting up an EU company. We also offer compliance services. For instance, if you need to comply with regulations for cosmetics, CE mark products, food supplements, or GDPR. We can provide advice and services to cover all of these. Or maybe you need market strategy consultation. Trade with Europe takes UK companies by the hand, advise on how to enter European markets, and drive your business to success. The most common requests we receive are for e-commerce services. These are also our best sellers, as we can offer very sophisticated order fulfillment in the EU and the UK. The range of products we can handle is fairly wide. Apart from food or hazardous goods, it includes pretty much everything. We can also channel online orders from any country to your customers in the UK, in Europe, and even beyond. And we can provide a web portal for you. So, hello? Sorry. So we can provide a web portal for you. You can monitor and manage all stock movements online 24/7. And as the icing on the cake, we offer e-commerce marketing on a number of European online marketplaces. Well, many thanks for your time. My name is Marcus Broix from Trade with Europe. And back to Mark, please.
Marcus, thanks for that. Just a quick question. What happens if a company's traded with Europe that has lost some customers because they couldn't ship goods? Are you able to help with that?
Oh yes, yeah, that's a fairly common request. So basically, before the trade barriers, they were able to simply trade with customers on a B2B and B2C on a duty delivery paid basis, so DDP. So they can act as the importer of record. They can't do that now in the current scenario. However, we can help them with a few services so they can actually ship DDP so they wouldn't lose any clients in the EU.
Fantastic. Marcus, we'll come back to you later in the panel session, but that's fascinating stuff. Appreciate your sagacity. So the next question is, let's look at what are the right marketplaces that specialize in accessing Europe. And we think we've got a man who knows this. And this is Phil Brooker from Frugal. Phil, can you tell us a little bit about how you can support companies looking to do cross-border payments, compliance, and increase their sales?
Absolutely, and good morning, everybody. Thank you for the opportunity. My name is Phil Booker. I am the head of partnerships for Frugal. I don't know many or any of you that have tuned in today, but I'm assuming that you are all fantastic e-commerce sellers with a fantastic range of products. You may not know so much about us, but we're probably one of the largest global marketplaces that many people have never heard of. We're actually in 46 countries. We work with sellers from 35, And just to put that into comparison, Amazon, if you've heard of them, are in just 17 countries. We really are specialists in cross-border. We make the selling of products cross-border incredibly easy. We manage all of our sellers' translations. We manage all of the Forex. And probably most crucially, we manage all of the marketing as well. We're a pure play marketplace, and as far as that we operate on a no sell, no fee structure. So essentially, if we can't sell your products, then we don't make any money. And obviously, we're a little bit biased, but in our humble opinion, when it comes to cross-border selling, there isn't anybody else out there that has the sure expansive day-to-day knowledge, whether or not that comes to the selling, whether or not that comes to the marketing, whether or not that comes to logistics, whether or not that comes to the taxes, everything that goes in it. This is what we are doing on a day-to-day basis. And to put that into some perspective, the global average for cross-border selling, so if you look at every single sale that happens every year that's online, if you look at the global average for a cross-border sale, that's about 25%. I think Marcus would probably agree that that's around about the percentage there. On Frugal, it's a staggering 92%. So 92% of all of the sales that we make, which are significant, are from a shopper in one country buying from a seller in another country. And that's what we set out to do. Now, when it comes to a focus on Europe, this may come as a little bit of a surprise, but without mentioning the B word, which Sarah said that we're not allowed to mention, actually, it's almost been business as usual because of a fantastic EU initiative that was put into place initially it was actually put into place on the 1st of January last year by the UK, and then 6 months later by the rest of the EU. So it's EU legislation that the UK decided to take forward, and it's called marketplace tax. And this means that it is now no longer the responsibility of a marketplace to collect the VAT or the sales tax in an EU country and pass that back to a seller, but actually it is now the responsibility of the marketplace to collect that VAT or the sales tax in each EU country where the sale is made. They collect it as the marketplace, and they are the ones that pay this that are due to pay this to the country where the sale was made. This then means what also comes into this is that there is actually a duty-free threshold of goods going from the UK into the EU if the sale's been made on a marketplace of €150, or if it's from an EU seller selling into the UK of £135. And if that sale's been made on a marketplace, then the label that you will print off will carry the marketplace's what's called an IOSS code, International One-Stop Shop. And when your goods arrive in the country where the marketplace has made that sale, that country is able to see that there is an IOSS code on it, and they see that's an Amazon, they see that that's an eBay, a Frugal, or whoever it might be. And they know that sale has been made on a credible marketplace, and the flow of goods has actually become easier when you're sort of operating in those sort of small where you have an average order value of €150 or £135, depending on which way it goes. Now, when it comes to the bigger stuff, that's absolutely where Marcus and a number of the other panel members would come in, because there's a lot more involved. But when it comes to the selling of absolutely fantastic products, which I'm sure that the audience today it's actually become easier if you sell those on marketplaces. So my 5 minutes are up as it is. I'm very, very happy to take questions at the end of this, or I think we're all our contact details. If there's further conversations that any of you would like to have. But yeah, thank you very much for the opportunity, and I look forward to hearing what the rest of my colleagues on the panel have to say today.
Phil, thanks for that. It's interesting again, just looking at the data from the registrants. they talk a lot about the hurdles that they have to circumnavigate: paperwork, logistics, customs, and costs. And it sounds very much like what you guys do, really smooth down these obstacles in a way in the last year that you couldn't do.
Yeah, I think that marketplaces are, marketplaces are the fastest, have been the fastest growing element of e-commerce for years after years. And because of that, we've needed to adjust. We're the ones that have the largest amount of budgets to invest, and we are we're part of the mix. We completely understand if sellers want to be, they would love to be able to control that whole sale from themselves to the shopper wherever they are in Europe. But that obviously comes with a whole host of issues and understanding and expertise. We feel that we can work in parallel and complement a shopper's own efforts. We also, even though we're in all of these European countries, we're also very, very happy to switch off any single European country or even your own country, so that we are not competing with you. If you already have good roots and good success in some countries, but you're looking to break into others, then we're very happy to switch off those countries. So we want to complement you, but very aware of the time. So I'll pass the baton. Thank you very much.
Phil, thank you for that. That's great. So let's just move on a little bit and look at the other issues that trading with Europe or doing better trade with Europe needs to resolve. Sorry, we just got someone. There we go. I think we've lost that. Okay. So the other question that I'd like to ask of one of the panelists here is the whole area of localization. Is if you're going to access Europe, what do you need to think about to make your product fit into a European marketplace? And to answer those questions, thrilled and delighted to have Johannes Roth of Kurt and Roth. Johannes, tell us something about localization from your and market research from your perspective. Oh, you're on mute, Johannes.
So I'm muted now?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Good morning. I'm Johannes Roth. And thank you, Marcus, for mentioning the Trojan Horse. You may have wondered how the people of Troy have been motivated to let the horse into their city. That means to buy the horse. And it seemed pretty easy, but in fact, they must have been convinced to let the horse in. And the builder of the horse knew exactly what the people of Troy, that means their customers, wanted. They designed the horse and proposed the horse in the most effective way. And that means they had a good product development and a good storytelling. And this was easy 2000 years ago, because the markets had been way smaller, much more homogeneous in terms of needs and wants, and there was less competition. Today, we often don't know who is in the market for our horse, for our product, and what can convince our prospective customers to buy our product, to choose our solution instead a solution from a competitor. And for example, if you are, maybe this example is a little bit large, but if you are a car manufacturer, you have to understand if your customers will buy a mode of transportation, a mode to boost their ego, if they buy the feeling to have done everything to protect their family, or if they just enjoy driving. So if you don't know this, you maybe sell to the wrong audience and you sell not so many cars as you would like to do. And of course, those needs differentiate across Europe. Every country has different demands, and the challenge is to find the common denominator, because it's too expensive to have different campaigns and strategies for each country. And our aim is to help you to find this denominator, to find the common ground and the most convincing reasons to go for your product. This, of course, needs some groundwork to be done before, and this is based on some answers to key questions. Which relevant needs does your product address? So what is your customer buying really? And of course, key, what is your competitive edge? This sounds easy, but if you think about it, and if you try to answer these questions, you may notice it's very difficult to come with concise answers to these questions. And to make it even a little bit more complicated, I'm sorry for this, it's not enough to answer those questions. The challenge is to address the right people at the right time and in the right language, in the right tonality. So to say it in other words, what is the best way to communicate your USPs successfully across countries, in Europe and overseas? And allow me maybe a short question. What are the last 3 ads you remember clearly? If I answer this for you, I hardly can remember any advertising because there is a blur in my mind. I'm overwhelmed like your customers maybe by advertising and other marketing communication. And nevertheless, some products make it into your business, into your home. And why have those communications, those ads been successful? They reached you at the exact time when you had an actual need. The advertisers found the best way to gain your interest. And how did they do this? Of course, they need to understand you, to research you, to find out who you are and what you want. So you see, to market your product successfully is a challenge. And we can help you, especially as today's markets are so fragmented and competitive. And we can help you to master these hurdles with sound strategies derived from research, from market research and of course desk research. And I have maybe a few examples to illustrate how this could work. One of our clients is developing the next generation of grills, of gas grills for barbecues. This should be in the range of 600 euro, maybe 700 euro. And of course, there are hundreds of grills in the market. So the question is, how can an international brand can create new product features which are relevant and distinguishable across markets? If you alone think that Spanish barbecue culture is quite different from the British or the German barbecue or sausage culture, you may understand how difficult this is. And we conducted for this customer a series of ethnographic interviews and innovation workshops with potential buyers of gas grills and which are differentiated between existing owners of grills and a new generation of new home owners who wanted to buy their first grill. As a result, our client now has a reliable set of features and USBs as a basis for his future success. We managed to deliver results from first briefing until beginning of the success story within 3 months. Another example is a client of us who is a big player in the agricultural area, but has no experience in the pet care market. But now they have developed a new dog and horse care product, which is for a market which is completely new to them. So, and they even wanted to go with a product directly into the upper price segment. So we analyzed for them the marketplaces, the different demands of horse owners in the UK and in France in Germany, or of dog owners across Europe. And we helped them to create a product name. That means we delivered all the insight the agency who developed the name needed to find the most compelling name. And this insight was based on a plethora of resources like test research, interviews with dog trainers, pet shop owners, stable managers, riders, breeders. And now our client has a sound go-to-market strategy and can start production planning. Another client of us was a startup online fashion shop, and they needed to identify the best approach to address their future customers. They had a vague idea, but no clear picture about their customers, and we created for them a set of user personas representing ethnographic target audiences. And these personas helped the product development team, the web design and marketing teams to design the shop. And today, this shop, it's called About You may have heard about them, is one of the fastest growing online fashion stores in Europe and overseas. And we helped them from the first startup phase, seed financing, up to the establishment of their store and the beginning of their growth story. Until now, they have their in-house teams. So we can help you to understand your markets and to develop the right product strategy and help you to bring your horse of Troy into town. Thank you.
Marcus, that's Johannes, Johannes, that's really interesting. I think what's coming across very pointedly here is just the differences in the countries from Spain to Germany to Greece and the importance of localizing product that you can help with. So thank you very much for those insights. Let's just move on and look at some other issues that will confront people moving into Europe. And one of those particularly is around getting boots on the ground, getting people on the ground quickly to support a sale or engage with an audience. And I'd like to introduce you to Harry Dillon from Lano. Harry, tell us a little bit about the work you do in terms of flexible employment solutions, getting people on the ground quickly and cost effectively.
Cheers, Mark. Hi, everyone. Morning. My name's Harry. I work for Lano. We are essentially a tech platform that allows companies to employ and pay those workers in about 160 countries worldwide without the physical need of having the entities there. So we work with a lot of UK-based businesses who obviously, because of the word that I will not mention, have obviously been affected by freedom of movement of obviously having kind of UK staff go into those countries and operate in those countries. So what we enable our clients to do is hire those workers without the physical need there, fully compliant on a localized employment contract, but it enables them to scale and grow a lot quicker and kind of test markets out. This is what we're seeing a lot of these clients using the solution for, is a number of markets that they want to go into, but they're not too sure which one they really want to kind of obviously take that first step into. It has enabled them to get local resource in the country that speak the language, that know the culture, which from research has shown have a higher success rate rather than kind of obviously having individual sales teams kind of selling from a remote location in a different country. But the solution then allows them to manage all those workers remotely from in one platform. And then when 2 years, 3 years down the line, they're ready to kind of obviously commit to setting up that entity in that country, they can do that. What we effectively then do is manage all the compliance and the payments around that. And it allows them to kind of concentrate on their core business activities when we take care of all of the compliance pieces around that. kind of other key fundamental thing that we're about to move into as well is obviously those businesses that are more at a scale up phase is allowing them to once they've set those entities up is actually running the payroll for them. So where you have kind of 10 to 20 workers now in a particular country is kind of managing that payroll, as it can be quite complex from where you are based, let's say from the UK going into a country like, let's say, France or the Netherlands, where there is completely different employment laws, completely different mandatory benefits that need to be provided, such as obviously mandatory severance pay. In some of these countries, there's also mandatory bonuses where the salaries are paid over a 13 and 14-month basis as opposed to more of a traditional 12-month basis. So yeah, this is what we kind of enable them to do. And yeah, once they're ready then to fully commit a kind of a full entity in that country, we can support them with that as well.
Harry, that's really interesting. Could you give us an example? You mentioned obviously the startups and the scale-ups. Can you give us a sort of just broad example of one of the startups that you work with in Europe and one of the scale-ups, just in terms of how you help them?
Yeah, so a UK-based company called Cronex, we've helped them hire in a number of countries. Typically, they didn't know where they wanted to go. Also, they didn't know salary benchmarkings. They didn't know what the benefits were that they needed to provide compared to obviously what is standard in the UK. So we help them identify those workers. We have a network of staffing firms as well, and working with them what the salary benchmarkings were. As you can imagine, it's different from country to country based on the skill set. Enable them to kind of create a shortlist and manage that whole process and essentially get boots on the ground. Essentially, they were sales managers or country managers, to be precise, that they were hiring. So these were individuals that were working remotely from a number of European countries, selling their services and their products to local consumers kind of on a B2B basis, and to the point that they've now decided to expand into another I think 3 European countries, and plans next year to look at North America as well with them. And then from a European perspective, one of the bigger clients that we worked with is probably heard of them, is Gorillas, where we've helped them more so on the payroll aspect of things, where they've had kind of 300-400 workers in each country doing these kind of obviously kind of Deliveroo style kind of delivery services, and it's kind of providing the in-country resource and the in-country knowledge for the payroll for those workers on their PAOA.
Harry, thank you for that. That's really interesting. Thank you, Annette. As always, it's a great delight to have Estelle Dingley from the Department for International Trade on the call today. Estelle, can you tell us a little bit about what support and incentives the Department for International Trade offers to support businesses expand internationally, and obviously, in this case, into Europe?
Thank you, Mark. Well, before I talk about all the financial support we might be able to bring to some of you out there, what I wanted to really stress out is the fact that all international trade advisors like me all come from the private sector. So we've been there, we understand all the challenges, all the rewards coming with growing your sales overseas. And as well as having my colleagues in the regions, I also have colleagues based in the British embassies in about 110 markets around the world. So we're here to help you find those new opportunities, to open new markets, to make sure that your product or services are going to be compliant, overcome any hurdles. And we've got all this very strong knowledge of having, been in your shoes in the past. So you can come and talk to us. And we also have a team which works on the e-commerce side. So thinking about Frugal, for example, we can help you on board through them, and we've negotiated specific terms if you go through DIT. And so finally, there might be a cost associated, there will be a cost associated to making sure you're compliant, or you need to register your trademark, or you need to get some legal advice. And we have currently some match funding available in several parts of the UK, unfortunately no longer in London. And you can have a project up to £18,000, which we would match fund. So you could claim back up to £9,000 at the end.
Estelle, thank you. That's great to know. I'm just conscious of time, so we'll come back to you at the panel session. I do want to bring in, though, a company that's been successfully trading with Europe and has weathered the storms and come out the other side. And I'd like to introduce Will Brough from Flexi Hex. Will, tell us a little bit about your story, both the challenges and the opportunities that Flexi Hex has developed when trading with Europe.
Okay, yeah, so I'm Will, one of the co-founders of Flexi Hex. So Flexi Hex is a patented product. It's a paper-based protective packaging, effectively to replace bubble wrap or foams. We're a startup. We are rapidly growing, so we're growing around 270% year-on-year growth. We're UK based and sort of based right down the southwest of Cornwall. And with our kind of growth, although we're growing quickly in the UK, Europe was, sort of next on our list. And when everything was rosy with Europe, it was very easy to trade, but the B word made it slightly more challenging. And that's where the sort of connection basically with kind of trade with Europe has helped us to really, I suppose, drive efficiencies and it helped us kind of open up the markets basically within that area. So we're working directly with packaging distributors throughout UK and Europe, and effectively we want to streamline our sales process so we can, create a sale, click a button, and the products will either be picked from a European warehouse or a UK warehouse. And as I say, we're working with Trade with Europe, and it's kind of, we've got an API connection now set up that enables us. We don't have to require, we don't require a sort of legal entity in Europe in order to trade. We can just do that for an EU representation, and that process has been just so much more easier. And sustainability is really high on agenda. It always has been right from the start. So the product was, I have some here. It's a very simple honeycomb sort of sleeve that you can put items into. Started off in the surfing market, where we started to gain kind of international kind of recognition and traction. But then we quickly realized the other kind of market sectors that would work really well is the drinks industry, where bottles are very fragile and the products can go over the bottles, for this kind of growing e-commerce sector that COVID has kind of really sort of pushed along. And other market sectors include cosmetics and consumer electronics. So we've got a sort of a really exciting product with now sort of effectively global patents, and we want to keep the team local, sort of within the UK, but really kind of drive sales, through Europe in the most efficient way.
And Will, pain points. Tell me a little bit about how you, obviously, how things have changed and how you overcome some of the issues that you had. And we were talking earlier about, some of the key issues around logistics, tax payments, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah. So I mean, the pain points were sort of, I think we have to mention Brexit really. The pain points were probably delays, although we could trade with Europe, it was delays. So, customers obviously have ordered the product and they want to have that product, in their warehouse. We tend to move pallets rather than kind of individual parcels, and they want to have that product, within a few days, and sort of having 2 weeks, in sort of transit is not good enough. And so in order to do that, sort of working with trade with Europe and Marcus has been really good. So, you know, be able to set up a kind of warehouse within the Netherlands with a direct kind of API connection has instantly enable us to engage with European customers and confidently deliver product really quickly. And that was probably the biggest pain point. And then I suppose the ease of kind of trading now is just, you know, is just really simple, the kind of, you know, the way the VAT and taxes are all dealt with. So it enables us, you know, say we're based, you know, in the southwest of Cornwall, which, you know, traditionally you'd either have to be based in London or a city or have a, you know, premise, you know, a place in Europe. But it's amazing to be able to trade globally from your headquarters in Cornwall and effectively, you know, become a kind of globally recognized brand with the help of kind of like other organizations to really sort of just drive efficiencies, keep a small team, but super efficient. So that's our kind of model, really.
Marcus, that's really interesting. I'm hoping you can join us and pose some questions back to our panel. And talking about the panel, I'd like to, if I can, bring Sarah back in, because the overriding theme throughout all of this is moving goods, and moving goods without data and barcodes. That's a pivotal point for GS1. And Sarah, just bring you in on that, and the importance of movement of goods and barcodes from a GS1 perspective.
Are you on foot? Fucking hell, are you on foot? I am fucking not.
You there, Sarah? Sarah may have dropped off. So let's bring in the panel. And I'm going to start with Phil. Just in terms of the whole Frugal piece, it seems that what you're offering to UK businesses in marketplaces is really transformational. Can you give us some examples of particular brands you've helped recently, just as a sort of start point, Phil?
I won't mention brands specifically. I mean, what we tend to do is we have a lot of retailers that sell a lot of brands rather than us working directly with brands. But I think the point to make here from Frugal is that unlike other marketplaces that may be niche, you may have a fashion marketplace, or there are other general marketplaces that are particularly strong in specific categories. We're always getting surprised by new retailers, and I'm sure there's somebody, you know, there's one or two sitting on this session today that can bring a product to us that we may never have traditionally sold well before, but not because we can't, but just because we didn't have the right product with the right data set at the right prices. It seems like the most obvious thing to say, but we can't sell your products unless they're listed on Frugal. There's no risk for your products to be sat on Frugal because we don't have any monthly fees, listing fees, anything else. But what we are always experiencing, and I think I gave this example when chatting with Mark in our first initial meeting, is that we're forever experiencing unexpected spikes in sellers looking for a specific product in a specific country because something's hit the media and suddenly there's a lot of interest. And an example I gave, and I'm sorry that this example isn't a UK one, but it's as relevant for a UK seller as it would be for sellers from any country. But I think it was in October last year. It was a Friday night, and there was suddenly a huge demand for Dr. Martin boots in Germany. Now, what we have there is a massive demand in Germany for a British product. But actually, the retailer that benefited most from that was a Spanish seller, because that Spanish seller happened to have a vast amount of that stock in, that amount of stock in. So that Spanish seller was able to react to that spike, that specific weekend, and we sold him out in thousands and thousands and thousands of that Spanish seller's Dr. Martin boots. We get the same all the time. So if we don't have your products, we can't sell them. There's no risk for your products to be on there. But the fact is that when those spikes come about, And if it's for your product, then we can make sure that we can get those to those shoppers very, very quickly.
Phil, can I just ask a quick question? Actually, just talking about e-commerce, and what's your like? We experienced a kind of, I suppose, an upward trend of e-commerce, obviously through the sort of pandemic. But what's your sort of view on e-commerce and the sort of e-commerce growth over, you know, the coming years? Obviously, we're potentially entering a slightly difficult time. But what's your take on e-commerce as we move forward?
I think to sustain the massive growth spikes, if we look at the year-on-year that marketplaces were enjoying. So when marketplaces looked at their 2020 against their 2019 and their 2021 against 2020, to maintain those growth levels are going to be difficult. But what I think e-commerce will continue to do is grow. And this is because what we've seen as a marketplace is that we found new shoppers that had never necessarily traditionally bought online, whether or not that be directly with the retailer or whether or not that be with marketplaces, that have decided to stay and decided to stay and make this a platform that they want to sell on. I think being able to position products, obviously, in a seller's in a shopper's own language, with all the payment methods that shopper would expect to see in any particular country, that the logistics are visible and everything, that will make a massive difference. But I think from what we've heard today, from whether or not it be from my friend Estelle at DIT, nice to see you, Estelle. You know, from what we know, from what Sarah's told us from GS1, from things that Marcus was telling us, and even your own experiences. At Frugal, we're incredibly excited about the growth that we're still showing, and I think it is absolutely sustainable.
If I may add, I often use Frugal with my clients who are just trying to try outside, you know, the UK and not quite sure where to start. And I always go to Frugal because there's no risk for them. If they're not selling, they're not paying. So it's always, you know, a good point. And I know that Frugal always works really hard at pushing the visibility of the product. So they may onboard. I've got this particular client who onboarded a few years back, and within 3 days, she started getting her first sales, and it completely went everywhere. And it started opening some new markets that she would have never thought of. And as a result of that, then she could start going deeper into that market and onboarding onto other platforms within the market as well. And the growth has been completely phenomenal. So
so nice to hear that. And we had not sent any sort of incentives or hampers in Estelle's direction prior to this. Prior to that,
I would lose my job if you sent me an incentive.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Please don't.
Can I add one very quick thing, and I will make this quick. 97% of Frugal's traffic is driven through paid search, and we drive shoppers directly from Google Shopping, mainly directly to the product. So only 3% of our shoppers are actually going to a Frugal domain and starting searching for the product there. So we're not a destination marketplace. So we would take a seller's products as long as we've got good quality data and people are searching for those products through Google or other search. Then that's what we're doing. We spend a very, very significant amount of money every single month in investing in our sellers' products, driving traffic directly to that product on our marketplace.
Phil, thanks for that. Just want to squeeze in a couple of questions before we go. The things we haven't talked about that is like to bring Marcus in on this is returns and how how are you dealing with those, Marcus, from a European perspective?
Well, the problem, since again the B thing, I mentioned it twice, but I think I got away with it. Is that since, say you're a consumer in Germany and you order a pair of trainers in the UK, not knowing you order stock from the UK. So this stuff arrives then at your doorstep. It was 100 euros and now it's 160 or 70 euros. Why? Because because you need to pay the import VAT. And secondly, you need to pay the duties because the goods do not originate from the UK, but they were made in China, rules of origin. Of course, you think, well, no, I was only prepared to pay 100 for this, so now it's 160. The stuff can go back. And this happens quite a lot with consumer goods, yeah? So a lot of UK traders see their goods being returned, maybe 80, 90% of it, so it's not a viable business anymore. So the solution we have is what Phil mentioned earlier. It's the so-called IOSS scheme. So that's basically for goods that are in the UK at the time of purchase, or we have a version for Europe where you store your goods in a warehouse in Europe and you use a very similar scheme, and you can simply sell to consumers in the EU from the UK as it was before the thing with the B word, yeah? So that's a very simple solution, really.
Marcus, thank you. Just conscious of time, just want to bring in, if I can, obviously the other side of this isn't just e-commerce, it's having some physical presence. Bringing Harry in from Lano, obviously your EOR solutions give retailers another option, don't they, in terms of supporting and growing in Europe. What would be your advice to any company that wants to have a physical presence there? How you know?
Yeah, so this, funny enough, this is a conversation I just had this morning with a client of ours. Is they are looking at expanding into a number of European countries. They're going through they've just gone through a Series B round of funding. They've got the investment to do it, but they don't know where or what country to go into first. Rather than kind of obviously going through the kind of time and cost exercise of setting up entities and not knowing if it's going to work out or not, our advice typically tends to be pick your top 2-3 countries that you want to go into. If you can get boots on the ground, test those markets out 6 to 12 months. The 1 or 2 countries that clearly show that they are working out well, and sales are looking good, that typically is the one that, or the 2 that you're going to want to kind of then kind of set the entity up in a year down the line, 2 years down the line, and vice versa. If you have countries that which look like they had potential but it's not worked out with the EOR solution, it's a lot simpler just to kind of then either move that worker or kind of obviously terminate that employment contract without the need then obviously shutting an entity down, shutting an office down, whether that's kind of a physical or virtual office, and all the costs and everything else associated with closing an entity down in country.
Harry, thank you. I'm alive, sorry. Yeah, Harry, thank you for that. Just wanted to quickly just emphasize and ask Johannes, obviously, what you came across from your presentation is, although Europe is a trading entity as a whole, what you need to do in Spain or Italy or Greece or Germany, very different from a localizing perspective. A quick tip, a quick hint from your perspective on that localization piece, Johannes.
The question is a little bit overwhelming. I can't give you a quick and easy answer, but what we always look for is the ultimate need a customer has. This is often the same across countries. The flavors are different, but the ultimate need is often the same. Maybe an obvious example, if you buy a Volvo car, you're most often concerned about safety. And this is across Europe. But how you speak about it, and if you say this explicitly or if you just convey it, this is differently. So once you have identified the ultimate need, like safety, it makes communication way easier. But at first you have to find this. And that's the challenge we help our clients with.
Johannes, thank you. because of the communication issues with the audio with the net, I'm conscious we'll circulate her PowerPoint later. So I'd like to, if I can, just wrap by bringing back Sarah, who I know is now back on the call, and the link between everything. Sarah's gone.
Yes.
Ah, okay. Well, what I was going to say is the link between everything that's happened today is about the barcodes and about the data, which is the central pivoting piece of GS1 UK. We have got Daniel here from GS1. Dan, would you just like to sort of maybe provide a little bit of a summary of that important piece?
Yeah, sure. I think it's key to understand that the GTIN, or obviously that's the numbers that sit below those white stripy lines, which is actually the more important part than the actual stripy lines themselves. Behind that is what sits all your structured data. So that sits your SKU, your product, your brand, allergen information, all types of information. And it's that structured data that marketplaces, that retailers, Google, across and all these retailers across the world, that they require to help facilitate supply chains globally. So there's a lot of benefits there. A membership to GS1 UK starts for only £50 a year, and we do have an offer in partnership with GTM, which we will follow up with. So you get basically with that membership, you get global trade, access to markets. It improves your ranking on Google. For example, Google have categorically said they will service a product with a GS1 barcode above the product that does not have one. And all that for a membership of £50 a year. So like I said, we'll be following up with some details on that afterwards. I just want to say thank you to all our speakers here. They've been fantastic, and thank you to the audience all for joining today. We'll follow up with a recording and all the relevant information and contact details. And any questions you have, please do reach back out to us afterwards.
Dan, thank you so much. I think we're out of time. Again, thanks to everyone, and until the next panel, until the next event, all the best to you all. Bye for now.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone.